Ramadan Kareem. Much of the NESA world is undergoing a period of transition whose end is difficult to predict. Yet perhaps in no place is the future less clear than in Syria. What is happening in Syria is truly a human tragedy. The government repression of demonstrating civilians has left thousands dead, with tens of thousands more injured and displaced, including women and children. As a result, the peaceful opposition has taken up arms to defend their homes and their families. Yet, the opposition remains divided, without one clear leader, one clear structure, one clear strategy, or even one clear voice. The Free Syrian Army has scored some battlefield victories, but has yet to become a unifying force. Meanwhile, the Syrian National Council struggles to provide leadership for the opposition while in exile. The chaos has created space for extremist and radical elements to operate freely. The regime uses these elements to justify its increasing repression. The number of atrocities continues to grow. Civil society is rapidly disintegrating. The bloodshed is generating extreme levels of hatred that threaten to tear the country apart. Beyond the atrocities, violence, and human tragedy, the conflict poses a danger to the entire region. Syria's location and the social and economic threads that tie it to its neighbors mean that the conflict has strategic implications for many countries. The crisis in Syria has already exacerbated ethnic and religious divisions in Lebanon. Movements supporting both sides in the conflict have clashed in Tripoli and Beirut. The military has struggled to maintain the border as terrorists join refugees in freely operating to and from Syria. Or the recent shootdown of a Turkish fighter shows just how tense the region has become. Along the Iraqi border, weapons smuggling has expanded. Some worry about how the course of events in Syria will influence the fragile balance between and among the Shia and Kurd in Iraq. Add Israel to this equation, and we see a truly toxic mix indeed. The Syrian situation is complex and spiraling out of control. What is clear is that if it is allowed to continue to expand, it could drag the entire region into ever-escalating levels of violence. The international community faces dwindling options for responding to the crisis. Many believe that now is the time to act. Inaction will only lead to more bloodshed, more chaos, more openings for extremists and terrorists, and a greater humanitarian crisis, not to mention the almost certain regional spillover with serious strategic, regional, and global implications. Let's look at some of the options. Option 1, a military strike. NATO's air campaign in Libya cleared the path for Gaddafi's defeat. However, in so doing, Libya was left divided and unstable. Today, local militias continue to carve out fiefdoms throughout the country. The Transitional Council in Libya struggles to maintain authority. Elections are upcoming this month, but we're unsure of the outcome. While in Libya the strikes were preceded by a modicum of political unity, Syria is still deeply, deeply divided. In the absence of a clear leadership with a geographic base to support, the international community will remain unwilling to pursue this option. Option 2 would be to establish a safe zone in northern Syria along the Turkish border. This idea has been advocated by some Syrian opposition and international leaders for over a year. Some have proposed that a coalition of various countries from NATO, Turkey, and the GCC would clear a safe zone in northern Syria. This could then be used as a staging area for the Free Syrian Army, a safe haven for refugees, and a conduit for humanitarian aid. A safe haven would also provide the opportunity to craft and shape a unified political command structure with a clear strategy and endgame. At the same time, safe zones and safe havens will require military protection from outside actors. It is not clear that outside actors are ready for such a commitment. I believe that the idea of a safe zone will only be seriously considered if the crisis seriously threatens the interests and equities of all the outside actors, including Turkey, the US, the EU, and the GCC. Option 3, arm the opposition. Providing weapons and material to the Free Syrian Army might help unify the various opposition groups. Given enough support, training, and time, the reasoning goes, the Free Syrian Army could eventually achieve victory. While less bold in option 1, this course of action seems unlikely to turn the tide. The Syrian military is extremely well trained and equipped, with weaponry far superior to the small arms the opposition can muster. Arming the opposition may only prolong the conflict, increase the violence, and provide the regime with an alibi to use forces in an area of unrest. And there is also the fundamental question, who are we arming? And this may well include, and there's evidence of this already, certain extremists who can only make the situation worse. Option 4, change the international political environment. The regime currently relies on support from countries like Russia and Iran to maintain its control over the country. A change in Russian support for the Assad regime could be, quote, the game changer, unquote, needed to end this conflict. Achieving this change will require concerted international efforts. Yet this change seems increasingly unlikely at the moment. After including Russia in the contact group, Kofi Annan's recent transition plan seems to have done nothing more than buy time for the regime. The notion that 300 peacekeepers could possibly put an end to the violence, of course, is absurd. The opposition has already rejected the plan, as its language leaves the possibility of continued Assad rule in Syria open. Now, the Saudi strategy of oil price manipulation may be more successful, but it seems that the international community will remain deadlocked until the serious crisis becomes a liability for Russia and possibly even Iran. As we must recognize, there are no easy options for dealing with Syria. Yet the crisis comes with opportunity. Now may be the time for regional actors to take the lead in resolving the situation. The crisis is gaining more attention and importance from the Arab League and from the GCC countries, who are in fact stepping up their efforts to support the opposition. Further action by these countries and regional organizations may be the key to finding a solution. In a future dialogue, I will outline in more detail the ways in which regional organizations can play an increasingly important role in promoting achievable and sustainable transitions in the region. The stakes are indeed high. Success could lead to an easing of sectarian tensions in neighboring countries, help secure borders, promote growth, and bring new stability to the entire region. Failure in Syria, however, could lead to an extended civil war that could destabilize the entire region, even leading to the first regional war in 40 years. As NESA alumni and regional leaders, I encourage and welcome you to discuss this matter with us and with each other. Perhaps a better future for Syria can begin with your insights. Thank you for your time. I hope this installment of the Ramadan Dialogues has been interesting and informative. As always, I look forward to hearing your comments and your input.
For further information or to comment or pose a question, please email NESA Communications at ndu.edu. Learn more about NESA on our website at nesacenter.org, on YouTube at the NESA Center channel, on Twitter at the NESA Center, or on Facebook, facebook.com/NESA Center.